How we doing, everybody? UFC Thoughts here, and today I'm going to be going over my picks and breakdown for every fight on UFC Atlantic City, Blanchfield vs. Fiorot on March 30th, 2024. Let's get right into it with the first fight of 14. We start with Angel Pacheco versus Kalen Loughran. I'm going to go with Kalen Loughran, but I think some people are overlooking Angel Pacheco a little bit in this matchup. I think this fight's going to be close, but there's going to be definitive rounds. I think it's going to be definitively 30-27 for Kalen Loughran. I think every round is going to be close, but it's going to go clear to Kalen, and I think it's mostly going to be based on his takedowns. Kalen is a very pressure style heavy fighter. We saw that in the Taylor Lapilus fight. Even though he lost, he was pressing the front foot forward every second of that fight. He didn't take a single step back. He's got a hard-ass noggin on him. And even though Angel Pacheco does have some submissions on his belt, he has 3, and one of them was actually due to ground and pound, I believe. I think Kalen is just, he did make one mistake in that Taylor Lapilus fight where he tried to go for the back take and he fell off the side of him. But I think he's sharpening up his, skill set. He's getting better. He's also not at a huge reach disadvantage. Taylor Lapilus has one of the biggest reaches at bantamweight, I think, and it was very clear in that fight. Kalen Loughran, even though he is shorter, he does have short arms, but he's a big fucking kid, man. And for a bantamweight, he's a big dude. Angel Pacheco, I think he's going to struggle heavily against a guy with Kalen Loughran's build, who his striking isn't that bad. He has a good front kick to the body. And I think his pressure is just going to get to Angel Pacheco, who does have a good gas tank, who will make this competitive on the feet. But I think Kalen's going to make it a little stinky, clinch a lot, get trips in the clinch. I think Kalen's going to win 30-27. Angel has the ability to steal rounds with his boxing. He goes for a lot of body shots. He's very good in the pocket, but he also has a hard head. But if anyone's going to win by finish, I feel it will be Kalen Loughran, because I don't think he's going to get finished. He's too hard-headed. So Angel can definitely steal some rounds, but I think I'm going to go with Kalen's durability, his pressure, and his overall just better grappling skill set than Angel to win this fight. 30-27, baby. We move to Andre Petroski versus Jacob Malkoun. This one's very interesting. I'm gonna go with the underdog. I'm going with Andre Petroski. And I have good reasoning. A lot of people are picking Jacob Malkoun as he is one of the hungriest guys in the UFC. Very grind-heavy fight style. If he gets you down, it's going to be a rough ride for you. Right? We've seen that in his Nick Maximov's fight. Cody Brundage up until the disqualification. But Andre also has collegiate wrestling. He has a collegiate wrestling background. He does wrestling. That's kind of what his primary thing is. I think the big difference is going to be the striking. Jacob Malkoun, all he really throws is an intelligent jab. That's really all he has. He'll throw it. And my big thing with Jacob is his chin. He gets clipped early. Nick Maximov clipped him early. Cody Brundage did a blast double leg on Jacob and got him down and landed some harsh ground and pound. But that was his big issue, is that he got into a grappling exchange with him. And Jacob Malkoun was just so much better than him. I think that since Andre is a southpaw, he does switch stances, but he is primarily a southpaw. He throws a mean left overhand that is throughout the entire fight. I think he can clip Jacob Malkoun with this, because that's exactly what a Nick Maximov clipped him with, who is also, I think he was in the southpaw stance when he threw it. He clipped Jacob with it because he leaned right into it. He fucking ate it. And you look at a fight like Phil Hawes with Jacob, who just fucking melted him with pressure. Andre is a stocky kid. He has the height advantage, slight reach. I think it's equal reach, 73, right? This fight's going to be close, and I think, for a little bit at least, and I think Andre's going to clip him and get him down with ground and pound, because Andre also has some mean elbows in his game. I want to pick Jacob Malkoun, but I think that he's one of those guys who has the ability to do very well, but like a Phil Hawes, he just has a physical disadvantage in his chin area, and you know, I think that's what's gonna take him out in this fight is his chin. First round KO, Andre Petroski. We move to Victoria Dudikova versus Melissa Gatto. I lean slightly towards Victoria Dudikova in this fight, but I'm very torn. I think this fight's very hard to pick for, and I almost want to just say draw, if I'm being honest. This fight's very close, and I have two big problems with my pick. One, Victoria, this is her first ever fight at women's flyweight, which is a pro and a con. Pro, that she's going to be faster than Melissa Gatto, even though Melissa does have some speed. And the con is that, well, there's stronger women at flyweight. It's just a fact. And especially with Melissa Gatto, who is primarily a wrestler, and that's my second, knock on my pick, is that Victoria, we've seen her struggle off her back, right, in that Jin Yun Fry fight, which a lot of people forget that Victoria had staph, I believe, going into that fight, which she was on antibiotics, and she still had good cardio, which is kind of crazy, because she fought at a pretty decent pace, pretty decent clip, and she was still able to go. She has great cardio. But yeah, I think that this fight's going to mostly take place on the feet, though. I think Victoria, she kind of knew in that Jin Yun Fry fight that Jin Yun doesn't have good cardio. She'll gas out after this little grappling exchange. I'll be fine in the third round. I hope she doesn't have that attitude about every takedown, though, because Melissa Gatto is not the person to mess around with like that. I think Victoria is going to win on the feet just due to speed. She is pretty fast, and also she's used to faster girls. So I'll go with Victoria Dudikova, 29-28 unanimous decision. This is the fight that'll decide for me if Victoria Dudikova is a true contender. Because Melissa Gatto, even though she is 2-2 inside the UFC, she's pretty damn good outside the rankings. So if Victoria is able to get through this, we might have a star on our hands. Who knows? We move to Ibo Aslan versus Anton Turkalj. Now, this is a rematch, if any of you guys have paid attention. On the regional scene, Ibo and Anton fought, and Anton won the fight. He won by submission in the second round or naked choke. But for most of the fight, it was mostly Ibo winning. He was landing the heavier shots, landing the better low kicks, because both Anton and Ibo both have some mean low kicks. But in exchange, Anton, they were exiting the clinch, and Ibo kind of tripped, and he ran into the fence, and Anton capitalized, took him down, got full mount, and then choked him out. That's basically how the fight went. And how the finish went, rather. I feel Ibo has just made better improvements. He's more patient. He isn't swinging wildly anymore, where Anton ducked 2 seconds before, and then Ibo throws a big, heavy overhand right over his head, right? And also, Anton, we've seen him go 0-3 in the UFC. I know, he fought Jailton Almeida. And I think he also fought Vitor Petrino, I think was the other guy. But in his last fight, he loses by knockout to fucking Tyson Pedro. I know Tyson Pedro was pretty... That perfectly explains Tyson. Meh. But he got knocked out with a right hand. Several right hands, in fact. Tyson Pedro, prior to the knockout, landed, I think, 3 left hook right straight combos in a row. And Ibo Aslan has a pretty mean right straight. My issue with Ibo Aslan is what I'll say this: his striking defense is a little poor. I'll say this: he's way too open to left hooks. He gets clipped with them a lot because he throws blind kicks to the body, blind leg kicks sometimes, and he just gets clocked with a left hand. So there's a chance Anton capitalizes on that, but I think Anton's going down in 1 and then getting cut from the UFC. I think it's going to be a revenge fight for Ibo Aslan. Ibo Aslan first round KO, preferably a right hand down the pipe, and Anton goes to sleep. We get to say goodbye to the pleasure man, guys. Na 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 na, hey hey hey, goodbye.
What am I supposed to say to the pleasure man?
You're gonna taste the pleasure.
I'm gonna taste the pleasure man. That's what I'm gonna do. Come on, cuz.
We move to Denis Buzukja versus Connor Matthews. I think this is one of the easier fights on the card to pick. Connor Matthews, probably by first round TKO via ground and pound. Dennis, while he has one of the most badass last names I've seen in a while, I don't think he's that all good of a prospect. His 2 fights in the UFC, he fought Sean Woodson on short notice, which that's kind of unforgiving, especially with his build, fighting a guy like Sean Woodson. And then he fought Jamal Emmers, which I thought would have been a bit of a closer fight. And then Jamal dropped him and won, right? So Denis Buzukja is going against a very touted prospect out of that New England cartel gym from the northeast of America. You know, they produce some pretty mediocre talent, but Connor Matthews, if I'm being honest, actually looks very nice. He had a very good Dana White Contender Series performance, besides in the first round where he got clipped a couple times. His boxing defense is a little suspect, but he's got a hell of a fucking chin on the lad. He's been on Dana White's Contender Series twice. He fought Francis Marshall the first time and lost, but then in the second one he fought a kid from, Jiu-Jitsu Nerds in Sao Paulo, the Caio Borralho gym, the Fighting Nerds or whatever they're called, and he fucking toasted this guy. This guy was 6'1". Connor Matthews, I think this guy is a decent prospect at featherweight that we should watch out for. He's going to start with Denis Buzukja. He has good takedown entries, good ground and pound. He's good on the feet, too. He's stalking presence on Connor Matthews, and that's something that Denis Buzukja struggles with heavily, is on his back foot, getting but pressured into the cage. The takedowns are going to be wide open for him, and I think he's just going to maul this kid. I love Denis Buzukja. I love his style, but, man, he's about to get fucking mollywopped, dude. Connor Matthews, first round TKO. We move to Julio Arce versus Herbert Burns. Herbert is the prime example of just because your brother's Gilbert Burns doesn't mean you'll do jack shit in the UFC. Herbert has a solid 2 minutes in him in this fight. And the thing is, Julio Arce, I truly believe Herbert can win this fight. He can. I think Julio just, the size disadvantage, but I'm going to pick Julio Arce. I struggle to pick Herbert just due to how much fatigue he has in his system. He gives up. He legit gave up in that Bill Algeo fight. Dude, Bill, get up! Herbert was like, I don't want to. And he just fucking laid on his back and gave up. Right? Like, this dude has no warrior spirit in him. And I know that's coming from me, a YouTuber, so what do I know? But this dude just has a history of this, like the Daniel Pineda fight. That was a Daniel Pineda coming off the couch after 2-year, 3-year layoff, and he fucking smoked him. He smoked Herbert Burns. And now they're going to give him a guy like Julio Arce, who's fought high-level competition inside the UFC. Herbert Burns is lucky he has that Nate Landwehr win under his fucking belt, dude. And the other guy he beat, I don't even remember who the other guy he beat was. All I know is that he need Nate Landwehr into the next dimension. I'm going Julio Arce not first round. Herbert will make it to the second. That's where he gives up. Second round, quitting is what I think. Herbert will quit in the second round. That's my call out. We move to Verna Jendrodova versus Lupita Godinez. Low-key a very tough matchup. It's going to be probably very boring, probably mostly clinch fest. I'm going to go with Lupita Godinez. Now, I know this kind of sounds like a casual pick. Kind of sounds like a, recency bias pick, kind of like Benoit against Poirier, but I honestly believe Lupita is just better than Verna Jendrodova. I honestly believe this. I think Lupita has great takedown defense, 86% in the UFC. The only 2 people to ever take her down were Loma Lookboonmee, who was a heavy wrestle-style fighter, and then Angela Hill. And people are going to use the Angela Hill takedown. Angela Hill took down Verna Jendrodova as well. Angela Hill, low-key, has underrated trips inside the clinch. She does. I think that's how she got both of them down. Verna offers nothing on the feet. Lupita is improving on the day. She started off her UFC career 3-3. She's on a 4-fight fucking win streak. She's piecing these ladies up. I know they're lower level competition, but Tabitha Ritchie is a good win to have, right? And her most recent performance was close, but she won. And I know Verna beat Marina Rodriguez in her last fight, but Marina can't grapple for shit. She just can't. She has good offensive grappling when she's on the ground, but defensively she kind of sucks. Alright? Lupita Godinez is a good just grappler in general. Defensive, offensive, and all that jazzy snazzy bullshit. It's going to go to decision. I'll say unanimous 29-28. Lupita Godinez. If anyone's going to get a finish, I'll tell you what, it's going to be Verna Jandiroba via submission. But I don't see that happening. Lupita has good submission defense. So, it's going to be a close fight. Probably a stinky one, to be honest. Not just because it's WMMA, just because of their styles. But I think Lupita will find a way to make it fun somehow, because she is good. Lupi Godinez, let's go. We move to Nate Landwehr versus Jamal Emmers. I'm going with Jamal Emmers. Sorry to Nate Landwehr fans. I don't think this is a good matchup at all. Jamal Emmers is one of the most underrated dudes in the UFC, and I know I sound like I'm regurgitating a lot of what other people are saying about Jamal Emmers, but I truly believe this. Jamal Emmers has an underrated UFC resume. He has underrated fights outside the UFC on the regional scene. He has a win over... He was Corey Sandhagen's first ever loss. He fought Thiago Moises on the regional scene. In the UFC, he's lost to fucking Jack Jenkins, which you can argue he won. Jamal Emmers had a very close fight with a good striker like Jack Jenkins, who has a good chin. Nate Landwehr, I know we like to say Nate Landwehr like he can take a shot, but can he? Nate Landwehr gets rocked a lot. He has decent recovery. There's a difference. Like Charles Oliveira is kind of in the same position. Charles has a spotty chin. He's got amazing recovery. Nate Landwehr, he gets cracked in like almost every fucking fight because he's so wide open on the feet. And Jamal Emmers isn't a David Onama who isn't going to be able to capitalize because David Onama has no fight IQ. Whenever he rocks somebody, he throws random bullshit. And I hope that David Onama improves because I really like David Onama. He's one of my favorite prospects right now. And he easily could have won that Nate Landwehr fight. Honestly, he could have won it just in the fight in general. He knocked him down at the end of the third round. But that's besides the fucking point. Nate Landwehr gets cracked a lot. Jamal Emmers is very slick on the feet. He has good defensive grappling, 91% takedown defense inside the UFC. He fucking fraud-checked the one dude who's now banned from the UFC because he tried to fucking kidnap somebody, the Kiasin Amgabrov guy or whatever his name is. Who gives a shit? He's a fuckface. Who cares about him? Jamal Emmers beat the fuck out of that dude, basically. I think Jamal Emmers is going to piece up Nate Landwehr and then knock him down in round 2 and finish him with ground and pound. I think this is a bad matchup for Nate Landwehr. He'll probably try and make it exciting, I guess, but I think he's just too old. He's taking too many hits. I think this is it for Nate Landwehr. I think Jamal Emmers is going to retire him in this fight. We move to the start of the main card. Chidian Njokuani versus Rhys McKee. Ugh. This fight, it depends on if you see Chidian Njokuani finishing Rhys McKee in the first round. Because Chidian Njokuani has a very weird gas tank. He's also moving down a weight class. He moved back down to 170 for this fight because he got beat by Mykola Aleksejczyk in his last fight after beating the shit out of him for 3 minutes and then kind of just dying due to gasping for breath. This fight, but Rhys doesn't... I struggle to believe Rhys has the weapons to hurt a guy like Chidian Njokuani. Chidian Njokuani hits very fucking hard. I know Rhys McKee has a good chin. He takes a lot of damage. But the shots Ange Lusa were landing on Rhys McKee, Chidian Njokuani's going to fucking batter this kid's face in. If he doesn't knock out Rhys McKee either has the best chin or Chidian Njokuani has the most overrated power in the UFC. I have no idea. I think Chidi is just more dynamic on the feet. He's going to throw leg kicks. He's going to batter him with 1s and 2s, elbow his fucking head off, and knees as well. A lot of people forget that Chidian Njokuani was the guy that gave fucking RoboCop that third fucking eyeball in his head. So, Chidi Njokuani, first round TKO. If he doesn't get it, I understand a Riz McKee pick, by the way. I understand it. Because he does have a good cardio, and he does wear a lot of damage, but he's able to persevere. I don't think he's going to be able to do that against Chidi Njokuani. He's taken so much damage. A guy like Chidi Njokuani should be able to put him away. Let's go, Chidi, bang, bang! We move to Bill Algeo versus Kyle Nelson. Veteran versus veteran fight. Fight. I lean more towards Bill Algeo in this matchup. I think the size disadvantage, and I know Kyle Nelson is coming off a great performance over a guy like Fernando Padilla, who he just saw knock out Luis Puello last weekend. He looked very good. He was able to deal with that distance well, but Bill Algeo isn't like a Fernando Padilla where he's bread and butter, slick striking. Bill Algeo is very wild on the feet, very unorthodox. He throws a lot of wild shit, a lot of side kicks to the body. Just like throws it out there like a jab, kind of like what Wonder Boy does at welterweight, but he does it at featherweight, where he just throws it deep to the body, not deep to the body, but a side kick to the body, and it usually knocks people down. Kyle Nelson, he's also been finished inside the UFC a couple of times. I believe 3 times. He got knocked out by Billy Quarantillo. He got finished on the ground by Douglas Ferreira. Why can't I think of his fucking name? Diego Ferreira. There we go. Diego Ferreira, the guy who knocked out Michael Johnson. The fucking poof. He got knocked out by him. Bill Algeo, while he is 5-3 in the UFC, his last loss was against Andre Fili. Very close fight, split decision. He also has a win over Joe Anderson Brito, which that win is aging like fucking wine. Joe Anderson Brito is one of the most dominant prospects we've seen in a while. He's fucking murdering everybody he's fighting, just murdering them, just fucking hawking them down, just he's a mean son of a bitch, and Bill Algeo kind of just housed him down a little bit, using his reach and length. I think Bill Algeo is just better than Kyle Nelson on the feet. His straight shots are very good. He has an insane cardio, and Kyle Nelson, while he does have good cardio, I think Bill Algeo has just more pressure and pace. He's able to put a pace on people. Kyle Nelson just kind of has good cardio because nobody really pushes a pace on him, right? I think Bill Algeo is just going to set him down in that second round. I think Kyle Nelson's going to get overwhelmed in this fight. Again, the crowd's going to play a part in it. Bill Algeo is very talkative in his fights. He's going to fight wild in this fight, but he can fight a wild style against a guy like Kyle Nelson, who doesn't really have anything to offer Bill Algeo as like an attack. So Bill Algeo, second round TKO. I'm assuming he'll catch him with a straight right to the face. Kyle Nelson will kind of dip in his knees, and then Bill Algeo will follow up with knees to the body, knees to the head, body shots, and then Kyle Nelson will crumble against the cage like a little baby. Like a little baby. We move to Nursultan Ruziboev versus Cedric Dumas. I like Cedric West. I do. It's going to sound like I don't like him in a couple seconds. Cedric Dumas, I like the way he looks. But he's fighting Nursultan Ruziboev, who honestly is in my top 2 middleweight prospects right now, if I'm being honest. If he wins against Cedric Dumas, he's gonna shoot up to 1, if I'm being honest. 6'5". Of his 33 wins, 31 of them come via finish. He has like 11 knockouts and like 20-something submissions. Swear to God, it's either that or it's vice versa. 20 knockouts and 11 submissions. He has submissions off his back. He has arm bars. He's very big. He hits fucking hard. And my big issue with this fight, everyone's like, his gas tank this, his gas tank that. The problem is that Cedric Dumas doesn't push a pace. Yes, he has a grueling ground game where he fucking grinds on his opponent, you know. And I like that about Cedric West. I like that he has that element in his game. What we've seen him diminish away from is his power punches. His stand-up game inside the UFC has looked piss poor, man. And that's what I really got into his game about, was his striking. I thought his striking looked very, decent on the regional scene. And on the UFC, he's just been stinking his way into decisions against Cody Brundage and Abu Azaitar coming off like a 4-year layoff. And Cody Brundage, who we know isn't that good, right? He's not that fucking good. And Cedric West has to stink it up against these guys. He's not going to be able to stink it up against a Nursultan Ruziboev. All right? I like Cedric Quest's reach. It's going to play a part, but he looks stiff out there. And Nursultan throws heavy leg kicks. His frame is fucking humongous for middleweight. I know they're both pretty big guys, but Nursultan is big. He knocked out fucking Bruno Ferreira, and I saw some guy on Twitter who was like, I think 9 out of 10 times Bruno Ferreira knocks out Nursultan. Shut the fuck up. Nursultan has 1 loss by KO on his career. He has so much experience as well, Nursultan does. He has so much experience. He has a reason to be here. I know Cedric Quest is going through a lot of personal shit that's going to be weighing on his mind going into this fight. He's going to want to prove a lot of people wrong. He's going to be very emotional, and Nursultan's going to send him home, I believe. Home. He's going to send him home. All right? He's going to beat the shit out of Cedric Quest, I believe. It's either that or Cedric Quest is able to stink it up and win maybe 2 rounds. But I highly doubt it. Nursultan Ruziboev, first round KO. And it's either first round KO or first round sub. I'll go submission, actually. Changing my pick to submission. First round submission. Cedric Quest is going to try and stink it up. Josh Fremd submitted. Yeah, Josh Fremd submitted. It's over. Nursultan Ruziboev submission, first round. We move to the featured fight. Chris Weidman versus Bruno Silva. Bruno Silva knockout first round. I'm not going to waste any time on this. Chris Weidman's leg is still shot. Yes, Chris Weidman does have the ability to, get Bruno Silva to the ground. Bruno Silva's going to fucking clip this dude and knock him out. All right, Chris Weidman, he looked ass against Brad Tavares. I'm sorry, he looked so bad against Brad Tavares. He had, some moments, I guess. But, dude, he looked fucking ass cheeks, dude. If Chris Weidman, hear me out, if Chris Weidman wins this, we cut Bruno Silva out of the UFC. That's what my opinion is. Because if you're losing to Chris Weidman in 2024, cut you from the sport. Kind of like Kennedy Nzechukwu versus OSP. Unless this is a profound version of Chris Weidman, there's no way he should win this fight. His chin is kind of shitty. Bruno Silva's going to knock this dude around for a little bit. And if he doesn't, cut him from the sport, okay? That sounds too harsh. That is very harsh. If Chris Weidman's able to get his takedowns, he's able to get his takedowns. But Bruno Silva has a good bit of wrestling himself. Let's not forget the Sharabuth and Magomedov fight. He has grappling himself. I don't know about his durability anymore, because apparently Gerald Meerschaert hits harder than Alex Pereira. I'm wasting too much time on this. Fuck! Bruno Silva, first round KO, please. We move to Vicente Luque versus Joaquin Buckley in the co-main event. This one, I'm going Vicente Luque by second round KO. This one's tricky, though. Because Vicente Luque is pretty slow for a welterweight, if I'm being honest. Very slow. Very, stiff, almost, in a way. The only thing that looks really fluid from him is his body kicks. His punches are really slow. The way I imagine Edmund Shabazian is the way I imagine a guy like Vicente Luque. And Joaquin Buckley is very explosive. Joaquin Buckley is very explosive with everything he throws. He throws everything into his strikes. It's kind of been his downfall at times. He has had nothing but success at 170 so far. But my big issue is his chin, if I'm being honest. Joaquin has a tendency of getting clipped by stuff and just folding. I mean, this dude has been knocked out by a who's who of UFC fighters. I mean, I think all 4 of his losses, no, because he lost to Nasruddin Imavov by decision, which is also kind of wild that he's able to be competitive with very good fighters, which makes me almost want to pick him. And I want to pick him because of his wrestling, but Vicente Luque has underrated grappling, great submissions off his back. Bilal Muhammad's just very defensively sound on the ground. Joaquin definitely has power, but I think it's the technique is what it takes to beat Vicente Luque. And I'm going to be honest, I don't really think Joaquin has that technique, right? I don't think Joaquin has the technique to beat Vicente Luque, and I think that's going to be his downfall. He's all physicality and, muscle people around, but he doesn't really have that insane technique that he should have. Now, he does have good head kicks. He has a bull-like presence, especially in front of a crowd. We saw that in the Chris Curtis fight. But I honestly just believe that the methodical approach from Vicente Luque is going to pay him dividends against a very aggressive Joaquin Buckley, who his big thing is whenever he fights methodical guys like a Nasruddin Imavov, a Chris Curtis, an Alessio DeCero, and a Kevin Holland, they all find openings on him because he's so wide open when he's throwing stuff. And I think that's going to be his downfall. So Vicente Luque, second round TKO or KO. I think Joaquin's going to have a lot of success in this fight, too, to be honest. But I think that he's just going to get clipped and it's going to be over. So we'll see him bounce back, I'm sure of it. We move to the main event of the evening. Aaron Blanchfield takes on Manon Fiorot. This fight is very interesting. I say this about a lot of them, but this one, as a main event especially, which is why I'm picking Aaron Blanchfield in a 5-round fight, I believe Manon Fiorot's gas tank isn't that great. I think she gasses out a little bit. She gets slower as the fight goes on, and that's kind of just a fact. Aaron Blanchfield, she does slow down, but she still fights at a high pace, man. And so does Manon, but I feel Aaron Blanchfield mixing in takedowns as well, mixing in the clinch. I think she's going to have a really big helping hand in gassing out Manon Fiorot. Now, the question is if Aaron is able to get her down, because a lot of people are showing that Aaron Blanchfield's takedown stats are pretty mediocre. It's the fact that when she gets people down, though, she does a lot of good work. And a lot of people don't seem to realize sometimes Aaron doesn't even want to get the takedown. She just goes in the clinch and does some nasty work with knees, elbows, body shots. She does very good work in the clinch, and so does Manon. She has very good trips, very good judo throws in her arsenal. On the feet, there's going to be a clear advantage to Manon Fiorot, I feel, in speed. But Blanchfield, she does have some sneaky pop on her shots. She is able to get in there and tag around with a Jessica Andrade and a Tyler Santos, who I believe was one of the most dangerous women at women's flyweight. I feel like she would have had a very good chance at becoming champion if she would have stayed, but she left. So Manon Fiorot, she does have a better resume than Aaron Blanchfield, but I think Aaron Blanchfield just has better dominant wins than Manon Fiorot. Manon Fiorot has been pretty close with a Caitlin Sermonara, and Rose Namajunas. She was very close in that Rose Namajunas fight. You could even argue, listen, I thought Manon won, but you can argue Rose Namajunas beat Manon Fiorot on damage. She was bleeding like crazy. And we've seen Rose isn't that crazy at this division. She did just beat Amanda Hebos, but Amanda Hebos isn't all that, let's be honest. Right? She had a close fight with her. But, you know, I think Aaron Blanchfield is just a little better in the clinch and on the ground, which is where I primarily believe this fight is going to take place. I don't think Manon has what it takes to finish her on the feet. If I'm being honest, Aaron Blanchfield's got a fucking blockhead. She eats shots. She takes shots very well. In that Tyler Santos fight, Tyler Santos was clipping her with shots, which kind of makes me believe that the feet is going to be a big problem for Aaron, but I think Aaron's going to be able to weave her way. She's defensively sound at moments, but sometimes when she throws a naked leg kick, a naked high kick, it's a bit worrying. And I think Manon, as the fight goes on, she starts to move away from her weapons and kind of just starts to throw shots that don't really make sense. She moves away from a game plan, while Aaron Blanchfield does not. And I think that's also going to help Aaron Blanchfield. She sticks to her game plan. Manon Fiorot moves away from her best weapons as the fight goes on and kind of just chooses to throw ones and twos and check right hooks, while her game plan is to use that push kick to the body, leg kicks, head kicks. She moves away from that. And I think that's going to cost her, that she's not able to stay to a game plan. Aaron Blanchfield, I'll say unanimous decision, 49-46. Boom. I'm UFC Thoughts. These have been my picks and breakdown for every fight on UFC Atlantic City. Blanchfield vs. Fiorot on March 30th, 2024. My confident picks reside with Connor Matthews, Jamal Emerson, Nursultan Ruziboev. My pre-card rating is a 7 out of 10. For the second fight night with a crowd this year, pretty solid, if I do say so myself. Atlantic City has a show in store for them. I see a lot of finishes. Honestly, I think the main event's going to be fun. A lot of people are shitting on it because it's 2 women. Fuck you guys. Aaron Blanchfield, Manny Fiorot about to put on a show. If they don't, I don't know. Next week we got Brendan Allen taking on Chris Curtis in a rematch. Will it be repeat? Will it be revenge? Probably be revenge. The main event streak continues today. Not today, well, tomorrow technically, but the main event streak will continue, I promise you. I'll see you guys after the fights. Peace.